Hey everybody, welcome back to the Upstate Exchange, where we exchange ideas on crafting, DIY, and frugal living tips. Today's craft was inspired by yesterday's grocery pickup. Normally I don't do grocery pickup at Aldi, but I just had a slam-packed day. I was on the computer and the phone a lot, so while I was sitting in between waiting, I ordered my groceries and went and picked them up. And when you pick them up, they bring all your groceries to you in these nice paper bags. And I ended up with like 12 of these, and normally I just use my reusable bag. So anyway, it came to me to use these as wrapping paper. As a kid, I remember my mom would take the comic, the funny section of the newspaper, and she would use that as wrapping paper if we were low on it, and we had a birthday party to go to. So I thought, what a better way than to use these old these bags and stencil them, and you can theme them to any event that you're going to. This one, I know Valentine's is coming up, but I have some things to wrap. Usually you're giving gifts on Valentine's, and you don't need a whole bunch of Valentine's wrapping paper. So I thought this would be perfect for that. So to start this, you will need to open up your bag. So I start on the bottom. If you can see, it's got all the seams, and I just find a point where it seems to be open already and just kind of run my finger under there to loosen it up. Don't worry about ripping them, because we're going to trim them when you go to wrap your present. So just go along where the glue is and peel it up. I'm sure you've all done this, in our school days when you had to wrap books to protect them. So you just open up that bottom section there. Open up the bag and then find the other seam. There's a seam here on the back side, and just open it up this way. And there you have it. So I'll bend down here. If you are concerned about the creases in the paper, you can try to smooth them out. It won't be perfect, but it'll help lay it down a lot flatter. So for that, if you want to do that, you will of course need an iron and just some parchment paper. And I just cut off a small section of it, and I just will move that as I go on instead of trying to use a whole big sheet to cover it. So you just simply lay your piece down on top of the parchment paper. Now my setting, it's gone down. I did have it on the linen cotton setting, and it seemed to do pretty good on the last sheet I tested it on. So you just go through, moving your iron just like you're ironing clothes. And this will just help relax it and lay a little flatter for you. And there you have it. It is a lot flatter, so it'll probably be a lot easier to stencil and work with, and not have it like roll up or try to curl up on you in the corners. So in addition to the paper bags that you can recycle, you can also choose to customize or stencil any of these gift bags from the Dollar Tree, they have them in a lot of, or I say a lot of different, they have them in a few different colors, and they usually come in a 3-pack in the smaller or a 2-pack in the like a medium size. Also, if you don't have bags that you have on hand to recycle, you can always pick up the big rolls of craft paper from Dollar Tree or office supplies places. You also won't have to deal with the creases if that's something you're concerned about. I'll tell you what all I got to do this craft. Obviously the bags. I bought, I've had these for a while. My son and I do a lot of crafts, so I just have a variety of paints. I realized when I got home to start this that I didn't have pink of all colors. I thought I did, that's why I didn't pick it up, but I'll show you how you can make that really easily with the colors we have on hand. They didn't have a lot of options, I think just because it's getting so close to Valentine's and the store was pretty wiped out. They did have some in the spring section, just some polka dot ribbon, as well as this like neutral color. It actually kind of matches my nail color. And if you want to know what color I use, I've got another video on a Dollar Tree nail review too, if you're interested in that. Next, I picked up these little dabber brushes or dabber sponges to apply the paint and stencils. So I just grabbed a variety. I had an idea. I'm one of these people that I have an idea and I'm not exactly sure. I'll just pick up a few options. I know I wanted some, I liked this love for Valentine's Day, but also maybe the XOXO. If you want to do birthday themed ones, they have birthday items, and then they had these really cute little hearts and polka dots, and so I thought that would be really fun for this craft. So because I don't have pink, just an easy way to get this, you take the majority of white paint and you just want a small amount, and I do this separate because I want to try to just build the color. It's easy to add more red, but if you go too far the other direction, obviously you're gonna have to keep adding more and more and more white. That is the color I'm wanting to go for, that like light baby pink. You can see that there. So I just start by adding just a little bit of red, that you want the majority of it to be white, because red is such an overpowering color. You can get kind of, unless it's a look you're going for, a pale red. I was wanting more of a pale pink. So to achieve that, you just need a very small amount of red in comparison to your white. And that's pretty much mixed. I know I want that to be a little darker, so I'll just grab a little bit more and mix that in. Maybe a slight bit more. And there you have it. Just a light pink color, just something faint that I'm gonna add to the white bag and the pink bag. So for the stenciling, I'm going to just do a little test spot on, this was just paper that came in the packaging with the stencils. So I'm gonna just practice a little bit before I go to do it on my cardboard. Now these sponges, they come in 3 different sizes, and I'm gonna start with the smallest one and just grab a little bit, kind of blot off the excess, because I don't want it to, I'm okay with a little bit of seeping underneath there, because then I don't want this to look super perfect. It doesn't have to, but I don't want it to like leak under there a lot. So I'm just gonna start with the X, because I know I want to do XOXO on some. So just blot. So let's see how that turned out. not so great.
So I want to interject real quick here. One of the issues I was realizing that not only was the dabber pushing too much paint underneath the stencil, the paper itself was causing some of the issues as well. The paper was a thinner material, almost like a thicker tissue paper, and it was absorbing the paint. Going forward, I recommend doing a test on the actual paper you plan to stencil. I also realized that using a stippling effect with a regular paintbrush was the best method here. Another technique when stenciling is to make sure that you lift the stencil straight up to avoid any dragging so you won't smear your paint. Now that I had my technique down and I felt comfortable, I began to stencil. Again, using that stippling motion with a regular paintbrush, I applied black paint to the X on my stencil. I knew I wanted to do XOXO and I'll alternate the colors black and white. I randomly placed the X's. There's no right or wrong placement. That's part of the fun of this craft. You can kind of go with it where you want. I started by painting one X at a time though in a section, and then moved on so that I could allow the X to dry before stenciling next to it. I did have the thought to cut the stencils out so I wouldn't have to wrestle with the placement of the large sheet, but it ended up working out. By the time I made it back around to the section I first started with, they were already dry because I'm using such a little amount of paint. Now it's time to stencil the word love on there with that light pink color that we created in the beginning of the video. I was going for certain colors on this paper bag. I wanted colors that would stand out against the brown background. So I knew black and white and this light pink would look great, the bright red. Using those colors mixed with the different stencils, it was just a fun activity that the design just kind of came to me as I went. So you can be as random as you want, and I feel like it will still look great. This was another stencil mishap. I thought about editing the portion of it out, but if you can learn from my mistakes and maybe not buy these stencils for this particular project, then hopefully it'll help you out. These were the peel and stick stencils. They were very thin in comparison to those plastic stencils. I thought it would be easy to use them. I'm like, I just hold it in place, but it didn't turn out that way because they were so thin. Even trying to stipple with the paintbrush, it was seeping underneath. I felt like I could not get a good technique down to prevent that. Also, I tested out sticking the sticky stencils onto the paper, and of course when you went to lift it up, it peeled the paper away. I feel like these will be more suited for stenciling maybe a harder surface. I used the dabber sponges from earlier in the video that didn't work on my plastic stencils and just created polka dots. I used the smaller foam brush to just swirl some paint over those hearts that looked a little uneven, and it covered them right up and made for a cute look. I still wanted to incorporate some smaller hearts for this Valentine's wrapping paper. So I just simply hand painted them on there. Painting small hearts is pretty simple. It's essentially 2 brush strokes that meet at a point. After painting all the little hearts on there, I felt like it just needed something else. So I took a small paintbrush and just made tiny little white dots at random all over the paper. For stenciling the gift bags, I used a different font for this one. I'm going to spell out "Be Mine" on the front of the bag and maybe give it some polka dots or another fun element to it. This particular stencil, the openings were a lot larger, so I did have to use brush strokes mixed with that stippling to fill in a lot easier. This stencil also had some breaks in the letters where there were gaps where they didn't quite meet, so I just took my paintbrush and filled those places in. If you've watched some of my other videos before, you'll know that I tend to eyeball placement of things a lot of time. If that is something you're not comfortable with, you can absolutely use a ruler and a pencil to lightly mark and give yourself a guide for placement so that your letters are even. If you notice, I purposely left the dot off of the eye because I'm going to go back with red paint and create a little heart instead of a dot. To complete the look, I'm going to make more polka dots using that same pink that we created earlier in the video. Using the smallest of the dabber sponges and in a twirling motion, applying the paint to create the polka dot. For the white gift bag, I wanted to cover the front of the bag with different color hearts. I decided to cut the medium and large size dabber sponges into heart shapes, and that way I could just dip it in my paint and apply it to the bag. Using a fine tip Sharpie marker, I sketched out the shape of a heart onto one of the sponges, and using a small pair of scissors, I cut the excess sponge away. Once all my sponges were cut, I began dipping. I noticed that my first few dips into the paint, it wasn't transferring as well as I'd liked. I didn't want the sponge to become oversaturated by dipping it too harshly into the paint, so I found that by taking a paintbrush, I could apply it more precisely. Once you've wrapped your gift using the paper bag wrapping paper, if you have any excess, you can use that to cut tags for your gift. To finish off the gift wrapping, I added some ribbon and some jute cord to complete the look. If you'd like to recreate any of these looks, I'll link all the supplies I use in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if it inspired you to create your own custom wrapping paper, then let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to be notified when I upload more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!